Hey everyone, good afternoon. It's Donna Maria from IndieBusinessNetwork.com, and I'm so excited just to come to you really briefly this afternoon and connect. Because one of the things I love to do, I don't know if you do, I hope you do, because reading is really good for your business. And it's also good for your life, obviously, too. But one of the things I really love to do is read. And I lead a book club called the Indie Business Book Club, and every month we read a different book. And we've read, I think, 9 or 10 actually so far this year. And what I wanted to do is share with you some of my thoughts and impressions on one of the books that we read this year. And maybe I'll share some more too if you like it. But not everybody has time to read books. Not everybody makes it a priority. So I thought I would just share some of my impressions and thoughts on one of the books we read this year. So here goes. Let me just tell you, here's the book. Okay, it's right here. Hope you can see it. You can see on my screen. There we go. It's called The Power of Broke, there, without a glare, by Daymond John. And most of you know him from the Shark Tank. If you watch the Shark Tank, it's like one of the best shows. It comes on ABC different times during the week. So make sure you Google it and check it out. But one of the things that this book does is talk about the power of being broke. Now, I've followed Daymond for a long time. I watch him on the Shark Tank, and I read a lot of the things that he puts out there. And one of the things he talks about is, hey, look, I'm not so excited about being broke, right? It's not like I'm walking around saying everybody should be broke so you can put the power of broke to work in your life. That's not what he's saying. What he's saying is if you find yourself broke and needing to improve your condition, entrepreneurship is one of the ways you can do that. And when you are broke and you need to start a business or you want to start a business and you want to be successful, you have to figure stuff out in a different way than people who have money and, you know, have some savings or what have you, a substantial amount of money or investors or whatever saved up and ready to just kick in and go. So through this book, he shares these really great stories. And I think storytelling is one of the best ways that we learn. Like, he doesn't go through and tell you, step 1, step 2, step 3. There's a place for that. But what he does in this book is basically tell stories. And I'm going to share really quickly 3 of them with you that really, really resonated with me. The first is the story of Mo's Bows. Now, most of you probably have heard of him. Like, he was 12 or 13 years old when he started this bow tie business. And he was making them all himself with his grandmother and his mom. And, you know, he's in school. He would come home and his grandmother taught him how to make ties, bow ties. So he started making them because he wore them to school every day. And he was like the only person in school with a bow tie on, or probably any kind of tie at all, maybe. And in any event, people love these ties. So he started getting orders for ties. So he went on to the Shark Tank and, you know, pitched his ties. And of course he was, 13 years old. Everybody was totally enchanted with him. But all of the sharks wanted to make money. They were like, how can we make money? Like, this is a handmade product. You're making them in your house, like in your basement. This is a really cute story, but, there's no cash in it for me. But they liked him. So one of the sharks offered $50,000 as an investment in exchange for a commission on every tie sold. And, Daymond was sitting there being kind of quiet, just watching. And at the end, when it was his turn to talk, toward the end, after he listened to everyone, he said, I like you. I like you. So we're going to talk, as he talks about in this book, the power of relationships and the power of really, really paying attention to people and listening to them. Because what Daymond said was, you could probably get an investment and then, this guy's going to have to get paid forever for every single tie you sell. But if you just raised your prices a little bit, you could make that 50 grand back if you had a really good mentor. So I tell you what, I'm going to offer you no investment, no money, but I will mentor you for free. And you keep all your money from your ties, and we're going to raise the price, and we're going to make some money, and I'm going to help you because I like you. And it was so great because the 13-year-old kid was like, I want the $50,000, like he's 13. Like, what 13-year-old kid wouldn't say that? But his mom was behind him, standing there as he gave his pitch. And, ultimately it was up to her because, the Sharks can't sign a contract with a 13-year-old. They have to sign it with his mom on his behalf. So his mom said, is up to her. And she basically said, well, my son Mo is the boss of Mo's Bows, but I'm the boss of Mo, and I'm going to go with Daymond John. And so what that pointed out so, carefully and critically in this book was that, relationships matter. How you come across to other people matters. Like, your business will not be successful just because you have a great product. It will also be successful, or maybe even only be successful for parts of its life, because you are out there connecting with people and being real and talking to them. So that's the first thing I wanted to share through that story. The second thing is, like, we hear the word hustle all the time, like the hustle never sleeps and the hustle is real. And gosh, I knew that before I started a business, because, I had a career, and, I'm a mom, so I'm hustling all the time, whether I have a business or not. And we all are. Like, everybody's got some kind of gig that they're hustling at, right? Or at least I hope so. So, but in this story about, the hustle being real, Daymond talks about Gigi's Cupcakes. And the lady who started Gigi's Cupcakes. Now, we all love cupcakes, but you guys know probably the last 8 or 10 years, cupcakes were really popular, 8 or 10 years ago. Like, cupcakes were everywhere, and it was just such a great thing. It was all the rage. Cupcake stores opening everywhere. And most of them folded for one reason or another. But Gigi's didn't fold. Like, she's got investors now. She's actually she got bought out, I think a couple of years ago. And so she grew her business from like a little teeny cupcake shop to being in 24 states through a franchise arrangement, and grossing $35 million a year from these 24 cupcake shops and her website. And she probably does a little wholesale as well, I'm not sure. But the beautiful part about this is how she started. Like, she had a cleaning business, this lady. So literally, she would go to work in the morning, make the cupcakes, then she would leave at lunch and go clean 2 houses. Like, she lived in Nashville, so there were a lot of people that Nashville's a lot of money in Nashville. So she would go clean these, stars' houses for a couple of hours, and then she would come back to the store, be in the store more, sell more cupcakes, close the store out, and come back and do it all over again the next day. So, I mean, think about that. Like, you may not be cleaning houses, and what have you, but there's some sort of hustle that you have to do. There's a sacrifice involved in making your business successful. So just think about that, and think about, like, how many houses would you clean? Like, how early in the morning are you going to be getting up and staying up and, hustling to make things work in your business? And I love that story because, she pretty much grew that on her own with a good credit. She had a really good credit rating. And so she was able to get some loans. I think she took out a credit card loan for $100,000 to get started, and then she maxed out another credit card. I think she maxed out 3 cards, and she ultimately was able to open a store and, have a relationship with a landlord and so forth, and get her decorations and stuff done. And, the rest is history. And now she's, doing other things. And, her private equity group came along and just, basically acquired the whole brand. So hustle on the front end, and now she's not having to hustle anymore because other people, I guess, are hustling to sell her cupcakes. So the third one, and this is the last one I'm going to share today, is a guy named Rob Drydeck. Now, I had heard of Mo's Bows before I read this book. I had heard of Gigi's Cupcakes, but I didn't know Rob Drydeck. And the reason is probably because he's a skateboarder, and that's just something like I'm not into. Nobody in my family is into that. So this is like a little daredevil guy in high school. His grades are not so great, but he loved skateboarding. And he would do skateboarding tricks that other people wouldn't do. Like, they thought he was a little bit crazy, and he probably was. But he would go and do these, skateboard, enter these competitions and so forth. But the biggest one in his town, he couldn't afford the entry fee. So here he is in high school, you guys, in high school. He goes to the owners of the show, and he says, if I can sign up 10 people, can you get me an entry for free? And so they agreed to it because they didn't think he could do it, and it was no sweat off their back, right? But if he signed up 10 people, they'd all make money, and they could just let this guy come in and do his thing. So, of course, he signed up 10 people. So they gave him his entry, and he went in there and, cleaned up just by doing the amazing stupid tricks that no one else would do. But after a few years, he realized, this is great, and I'm making money, and I'm winning all these contests. But, I've hustled enough. Like, think back to Gigi, right? Okay, I've hustled enough, and, my body's not getting any younger, and I can't do this stuff for the rest of my life. So what am I going to do? So he looked around. So the point here, the third point, is opportunity. Begin to make sure you notice opportunities. This is a learned skill, and it only happens over time as you make mistakes, run your business, and do things. Like, that's how it happens. So, and opportunities don't like usually fall, straight from the sky into your lap. They usually come at you sideways. Like, so you always have to be looking for where the opportunities are. And what he noticed was people were talking to him about his skateboarding on social media. And he noticed that other people who had, passions and were talking about things on social media, they started to build these audiences such that advertisers would come to them. Like, people who wanted to reach their audience would start paying these people for talking about their products. And so he began to get some advertisers for, skatewear and skateboards and all that sort of, skating paraphernalia. And then he saw other opportunities because there was MTV and all the kids were on MTV. So he pitched his show, the idea of, the skateboarding show and, kind of daredevil guy type stuff to MTV. And lo and behold, they bought it. Right? I don't remember how old he was. It was like early 20s when he did this. But again, it wasn't just the relationships. It wasn't just the hustle. It wasn't just the opportunities. It was a combination of all three of these things that took these people from an idea to really no money to speak of to being able to leverage the assets that they did have in order to grow. In most cases, it was, he was 12 and he was adorable. In Gigi's case, it was good credit. And in Rob's case, he was like a crazy man. So everybody has something. You have something inside of you that is easy for you, that's hard for other people. Find out what that thing is. Like, Mo could make ties. Gigi could make cakes. Rob could, spin around on a skateboard. What can you do? What sorts of things do you bring to the table that you can leverage, that you can use to be successful in your life as well as in your business? So if you love those three stories and you like those 3 points, here's the book for you. I think you'll enjoy it. You can head over to the Indie Business Book Club, just type it in, and you can follow me right here on Facebook by clicking the follow button, and be with me next time I go live with more tips for you. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have a great day. Bye.